First of all, let me say this was like late night viewing for me, and y'all bring it to us like from the first scene. It's like you're right in the middle of that spy thriller. And I'm just curious for you going into this, knowing that you were going to expand this sort of Tom Clancy universe, what you wanted to bring to this one, because John's a very different look than Jack Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I think John is like the execution arm, of Jack Ryan. He's a little more physical, even though John's been doing a great job. I mean, Krasinski's been doing a great job, portraying. He's been, in the mix, getting, full of action, on the show that he's been doing. But I think John's a little bit more, straightforward in his approach, and wanting to, honor the genre and really bring that, that energy and excitement and adrenaline to this action thriller. So we found ways to put, John Kelly in positions to really show that, and without losing the drama and the stakes and the character and the hurt that he's kind of went through, or that he goes through. And we just all wanted to bring that all in one package, tightly knit origin story.
Yeah, and you guys, I think, very successfully did that, especially with the cast you assembled to bring it together. But I have to ask you, looking back on it, I went back and checked, you just seem to like want to make it really difficult for yourself as far as training, because I'm just looking back, I'm like, man, he is really making it to where every single time he does this, between Creed and now this, it gets very physical. So is this a harder muscle to flex for this kind of like gun and weapons training versus like getting ready for Creed? Like, which is worse? Or are they about the same?
I think this one was just sheer volume and scope of the stunts, and the amount that we had in this one would probably put this at the top as far as the the most difficult so far. I mean, the next one, Rainbow Six, maybe we'll try to see if we can outdo ourselves. But for this one, these are the movies that, I love watching. I always wanted to do a project like this that I have to train relentlessly to do different stunts, whether it is, jumping inside of a burning car or underwater work, which is the first time I actually kind of dived into that space. A lot of weapons training, explosives, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. But I enjoy it. And it's fun. So just you're young.
Is it the gamer? Yeah, you're only young ones. Is it the gamer in you that wants to do the shooting? Because we know you're an avid gamer, and I had to figure that was maybe your introduction to Tom Clancy. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is, Rainbow Six, the video game growing up, was definitely my introduction to the title, Tom Clancy for sure. And, my dad being, a Marine, growing up, I've always kind of had that type of, militant, kind of environment. So to be able to, dive into this space was a lot of fun.
And I know you're not going to be able to say it, but if Eric Killmonger was going to be in something like What If, as it's rumored, and there's this idea that character come back, would that be something you'd be excited for? Since I know you're not going to tell me if it's really going to happen.
I mean, yeah, I'd be excited for that. I think that's a character that, people connected with and enjoyed. So, yeah, I think I would be excited for something like that.
So does that mean you and Ryan, I'm just hoping y'all are going to try and make a Scorsese sort of De Niro or Scorsese and DiCaprio pairing? Is that the plan going forward for y'all to just keep doing as many as possible?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy working with Ryan. We started, something together, years ago, and that's like family to me. So, the goal and the hope is to, continue to make movies that, that mean something and continue that relationship moving forward. We're both individually very busy, and just trying to find the right time to like do that is challenging. But, you should definitely look forward to seeing more things from us.
Has it occurred to you that perhaps John Kelly has done something we can't?
It's really great to see you do this sort of like spy thriller stuff. I feel like I've been sort of like a fan of all of your stuff, but I like it when you get a little dark. Talk about reteaming with Michael B. Jordan and how you sort of came about the project. As a producer, was it like him texting you, hey man, what's up?
Well, I mean, not too far off actually about that. No, I will say this, obviously me and Michael worked together a few years ago now, I think like 2014 or 2015 or something. And in those intervening years, as we all know, like Michael's trajectory has just been up, 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 global movie star, phenomenon, you know, everything else, beacon of the industry, I would say. So going into it, I was like, you know, as you can imagine, I was a little bit like, what's this guy going to be like now? You know, like how is this guy gonna, how was he changed? How has this affected him? And, you know, and I'm not just blowing smoke because that would be an easy thing to do, you know, because he's my producer and everything. But I was so enamored by him. I was so enamored by his ethics, so enamored by his commitment, the way he doubled down in terms of his dedication to his work, the way he lifts everybody up around him, how he carries his own identity with his own projects, how he's producing now. This is coming through his own company. I mean, it's just, you know, it's beyond impressive. It's like, it's what we should all aspire to. If, you know, if you're in the industry and you have an interest in making films and having more authorship of what you do, it's what you aspire to be. And I very much aspire to be someone like Michael in the way that he's governed himself within the industry. So.
Well, I don't think you should sell yourself short. I mean, you've been doing this for a little bit. And I think if there's anyone that could maybe, with your time, you know, a similar situation, you know, shot into the stratosphere very early, and a lot of people probably telling you things you could evaluate, and you've probably seen some people go astray. So it's very,
completely, you know, fuck it up, basically. And you know, Michael is he's aware of that. You know, he's aware of what his currency is and what it means and what he can do with it. And I'm just incredibly impressed. And you know, I want it for myself. So I see that, and it's an example for me. You know, it's the way I see it.
I love that. I will say your character this is not his first appearance in the Tom Clancy verse. He's actually sort of a connective tissue character, similar to John Kelly / John Clark. Talk about that. I mean, were you familiar with the whole Tom Clancy universe? Did you want to assuage all of the other performances so they didn't affect you, or did you want to lean into it?
You know, I'm a child of the mid '80s, so like I kind of weirdly did grow up with a lot of reruns of the Clancy stuff on TV in English television. You know, Hunt for Red October is probably my favorite, but I also grew up with Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger and all that stuff. And so when I saw, you know, it was a Clancy movie, like I have that cinematic legacy in the back of my mind. Like, oh, this feels like folkloric cinematic language that I want to be a part of. And the part, like, obviously I've seen this at other iterations of this character by other actors and stuff, and been immensely impressed with how those other actors have portrayed him, who's, you know, he's a slippery character, this guy. I think the difference with this version of it is that he's very much someone who not only exists in DC as someone who's pulling the strings behind the curtain, but he's also on the front lines. He's someone who will pick up a weapon, and he's right next to John Kelly in some of these missions. So that element to the character felt new to me, and I liked that I got to be physical with him, as well as playing all the subterfuge and playing all the lies and everything else that goes on with him. So there was a lot for me to do here, and I was very excited about it.
Yeah, not to give too much away, but your character definitely is one on screen where you just don't know where their loyalties lie, which is perfect for a spy thriller. Like, you definitely are always like, what's this dude about? Very Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, if you will give me the analogy.
Right.
But one person who was not having you from the get is Jodie Turner-Smith. Her character was like, I don't like you. What was it like, you two going toe to toe? Because that was actually some of my more favorite scenes, was her just being like, I don't like you, man.
Yeah. So listen, like, me and Jodie, like, her hotel room was like right next to mine. And we became, I didn't know her before this. And I spent many dinners with her and her husband, Joshua, and we got to know each other really well. And you know, she was going through something at the time of making this movie as well. You know, and she's a warrior, man. Like, she's a warrior. She's a phenomenal force. And also, like, remember, she's playing this. You know, as much as we think of John Kelly as this formidable fighter, her character is the only one that can get him to listen to her. And that requires incredible force, incredible aptitude, and incredible authority. And I think she does that really well in this movie. She's also representing women in the armed forces in this movie.
Yep.
incredibly underrepresented in films. She's playing a Navy SEAL as well, which is the pinnacle of the armed forces. And also she's in a position of power. So it's like, I love Jodie. I loved all of our scenes together so much. And, it was really fun to have her as a friend on this movie. We really got along really well. And I would love to do more scenes with her for sure.
No, she's incredible. And another person who I think is on that same like stratospheric, push right now. And so I'm just so excited to see what she could do next. This is more of a frivolous question, but this is a spy thriller and I'm a bit nosy. So is there anyone you would want to spy on? Like I would want to see what the Obamas are doing right now, or like what Beyonce does in a day.
Yeah, good. I don't think I can beat those ones. Like those other people. Yeah, you're right. Like I just want to know, like, what's Michelle's morning routine? Like is she what's she doing in the mornings? Is it coffee first? I know she likes. What else does she do in the? I mean, I want to know all that stuff. I want to know like what's their version of Netflix and chill. You know what I mean? I'd love to know what that is. Like, I mean, maybe it's too perverse. I don't know. But
maybe because I'm talking to a Brit. Another one I fantasized about was any member of the royal family while they watch The Crown. I would just like to be a fly on that wall just to watch what their faces do.
I think immense anxiety. It's probably what
I know. Poor things. Yeah. It seems like you are a fan of the Tom Clancy series. Yeah. Is there one particular film that really stood out for you as the pinnacle, maybe the one in the back of your mind? You're like, okay, we got this to sort of like compete against, or performance from any of them.
Red October for me is the one. It's the one because it has Connery in it, obviously, and young Baldwin. But also, I'm just a sucker for submarine movies. I know that makes me like really nerdy and really, bro-y in a way. But also, can I give you a recommendation to watch on Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a documentary. I think it's a British documentary. It's called Last Breath, and it's about a guy who does like deep saturation diving in the midst of a storm, and it all goes wrong. Like it all goes the worst it could possibly go. And it's just, it's unbelievable. It's a story of survival. It's a story of teamwork and coming together against adversity. And if you want a Netflix and chill, watch Last Breath.
Their plan is a series of strategic attacks
all over the world.
We have to respond.
I need to be on that team. Lieutenant Commander Greer, you lead the mission.
Jodie, congratulations. First of all, they kind of warned me that you were like grace framed by beauty in paradise, but girl, that is a setup. Jealous.
Oh my God, thank you.
Well, it's a bit of a departure for this movie, let's be honest, because it is dark and you are very much taking it to a lot of men within it. And I kind of want to start there because your character, first of all, she's a Navy SEAL. Jamie talked about how you're really representing women in the military, and you're taking it to both his character and Michael B. Jordan's character pretty much for the entire run. So talk about how you approached it and how much fun you had telling the sexiest man alive to shut up and listen.
Lots of fun. I really appreciate it where I wanted her to feel grounded and real and human. And I also wanted to have a certain sense of knowledge about what an individual who plays the role that she does in real life, what that kind of person is like. And so it was really important to me to try to meet someone who does her job, who lives that life. And when I got to meet this person and kind of see their personality and that they express themselves, I was like, wow, sensitivity, kindness, openness, that's all part of it. And so I really sought to bring that to my character, as opposed to, I think oftentimes women in these roles are told they need to subvert those parts of themselves. But I thought, no, let's like lean into that instead, of that's our strength.
I think that's important too, because when you look at Black women, they're so the catalyst of everything that happens in this story, both from John's tragedy to you essentially pushing him to try and do the right thing, to try and, sort of honor that. But let's be honest, you're right. There's a vulnerability to it and there's a closeness to it and a huge authenticity to it. But you still had to be like a military person. And so you had to like train for this. Like, Where were you on that part? Because girl, you just had a baby. Like, where were you on all this? I was just like, this must have been a lot of training pretty quick to that, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, I was pregnant while I was doing this. I was in my second trimester. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it was intense, but I trained, I worked with a trainer. I was working with the military guys that we had on set. I was doing weapons training. I was doing everything that I could to bring as much authenticity to this as was possible. I was trying to train up the men in what it meant to deal with a woman who was pregnant. That was probably the hardest part.
Oh, girl, tell me, were they trying to be too nice? Be like, sit down.
They don't get it. No, they weren't trying to be too nice. They don't understand. They think men just think they're like, oh, you're pregnant. It's fine. You just They don't get it. They don't know. That's fine. It's out of the realm of their understanding. They don't understand that what's happening inside your body and how delicate it is and how important it is and how literally everything is like my organs almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's transformation of your entire body to give life. Yeah. Well, you gave life to that as well as you cultivated this incredible performance, which Jamie had nothing but incredible things to say about you. He talked about you guys got very close during the filming of this, but also
it's my boy. I love Jamie. Jamie was my comic relief as well. He's hilarious. I love him.
I only got him for a few minutes in the Zoom, but I can totally, I would say, agree with you on that. He's infectious the minute you get to talk to him, but you're surrounded by that. I mean, it feels like everyone in this was just so incredible. But talk about Michael and how, as a producer, he approached you, I would imagine, about the role, and you definitely met him very early on in the process. So yeah, talk about him. And was this the first time you guys had met?
Yeah, well, no, we met at a party before that, like when I was right before I went to go do Queen and Slim was the first time I met Michael.
Wow. So talked about approaching the role. Yeah. How you approached it.
Actually, no, was it before I had done it? It was before I had done Queen and Slim. I actually met him. But yeah, no, I think Michael was just excited to see what my take was going to be on it. He really let me just like do my thing in the sense he didn't kind of come and say like, you need to do this or you need to do that. He just kind of like really let me do my thing in this. And, Michael's wearing so many hats. I think it's admirable the way that he is pushing for the things that he's pushing for in our business and the way that he's making it his mission to be inclusive on his sets, So, yeah.
What he does with Outlier is incredible. One of the first studios to put inclusion writers in as a mandate for their production capabilities, which they already were, but to put that out there the way they did is absolutely incredible. And you can tell based on the cast that he assembled. Slightly frivolous here though, because I know that you've had two very different, this is a second chapter for you because you already had another career in another industry. And I'm just curious, without remorse, when I told people I was doing it, the first thing they thought was, if they didn't know the book, they were like, what is this? This is about regrets. And it made me wonder, is there anything in your, histories already as a career? Have you had remorse in the sense of like, you knew that this was definitely the right decision, but maybe at the time you didn't, and now you look back on it like no regrets, or something that you did turn down and you absolutely knew it's like, this is just not where I need to be? So anything in your career that you look back on now, like without remorse?
I mean, honestly, I look back on everything without remorse.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because I think that whether something works or it doesn't work, like I learned something. And that is what I take with me into the next thing. It's like everything is an opportunity for expansion. And it's like, look, it's not always going to be what you thought it was going to be. And it's not always going to come out perfect. That is life. But like the key is, it's like, are you learning? Did I learn something? Did it expand me? And when I can look at it that way, and when I can live life not thinking about like, I regret that, it just gives me that much more opportunity for growth. Because when I'm in regret, then I'm in shame about something, That's
a great way to be. And I guess that's the best way to be, because looking at your career, like when we first spoke for Queen and Slim, I was like, listen, y'all clock it. This is going to be a person we're going to be seeing a lot of, and you've completely fulfilled all that thoughts. And two things you have coming up, one, which is very recent, and then the other one, which folks are going to see soon, Anne Boleyn and Borderlands. Like, girl, let's just talk about your career already. You've made so many great choices. So
you can't forget about After Yang. You can't forget about After Yang.
Yeah, same.
After
I mean,
Yang
look,
with Colin Farrell, directed by Cole
Yes.
Bernada. I'm really excited for that project too. You know, Anne Boleyn, you know, that was such a wild experience. You know, when I went over to the UK, my daughter was just 5 months, still nursing. And it was like every 3 hours, I was like at the pump or nursing her. And it was so intense to do that. Working mothers are my heroes.
Aww.
Because honestly, to do that, oh my God, Netflix did this like video like dedicated to working mothers, and I literally cried when I watched it. I don't know if you ever saw this video.
Yes,
but
I did.
It made me weep. You know, like every woman, oh my God, I'm gonna cry just thinking about it. But like, you know, women pumping in closets and doing whatever they can just so that they can like, you know,
make it happen.
They took everything from me.
First of all, I have to say, taking the job, I'm sure it wasn't like they had to convince you long to be with Michael B. Jordan, but then they're like, oh, and you're going to be so heavily pregnant. So did that make you like want a second thought? Because I know those pregnancy suits are not the best and most fun to act in.
You know, no, they actually are nothing compared to actually being pregnant. And so I have 2 children of my own, and I know very well what that feels like. You know, that wasn't, I didn't really take that into consideration as much as I did. Was I even ready to do it at all?
That's so surprising, because watching it, and this is a part that I think, you know, if it wasn't written as the way it was written, or what you guys didn't do on screen was felt so lived in, it wouldn't have been what it was, because she's such the emotional catalyst of everything that John does after that. And it could have just been like this flat thing, but that scene of y'all in the bedroom where you kick him out, which we know if you watch the movie is very important to the storyline, that's where I felt those two were so lived in. So yeah, just talk about working with Michael on that scene, because it's like everything after that has to pay honor to that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we you know, Mike is a good friend of mine, and so we knew each other before we worked together. So that was a plus, just being able to work with someone you consider a brother and you hold at such high regards, and vice versa. You know, I think we have a lot of respect for each other, and I've been saying this, which is just the truth, is that, you know, once you've experienced life to a certain level, you kind of know where that tenderness and that love comes from, and you just bring that to your art. And I think that feeling safe and respected by Mike had a lot to do with being that comfortable in those scenes.
I appreciate that. And again, you can definitely see it within it. Of course, this is a spy thriller, so forgive me. I'm just going to be a little nosy now. Is there anyone you would want to spy on? This doesn't have to be anyone in your life. Like, I would just I would like to watch Beyonce go through a day just for fun. Like, what does she get to do? So maybe not like invasive spying. Was there anyone you'd like to peek behind the curtain on? Dinner with the Obamas? I don't know.
No, I don't. I don't.
You're a better person.
I don't. You know, I would like to peek in on myself.
Hey, that's profound right there.
And watch myself for real.
Actually, that's like the better thing. Like, if you could see yourself in your own movie, I'm taking that one. I'm not gonna lie. That is so much better than
you can have it. It's for you.
Let me not be messy for once and like take something profound from this question. Something that is celebratory and not necessarily about Without Remorse, but definitely something I wanted to talk to you about is the fact that all of those shows went to Netflix. Have you had the resurgent from the game? Because everyone I've talked to that was one of those shows told me, they're like, girl, people in like London are coming up to me talking about these shows that they hadn't seen before. Did you feel that when Netflix brought the game and all those shows over, that people were like reaching out?
No, I haven't, but I that might have a lot to do with just being in quarantine and not being out in public. to receive any feedback from anyone. But no, I haven't.
Oh, well, that makes me sad because, girl, that
No,
was like
it's
Christmas. Well, let me give you the love. I really watched everything all the way through. And when I got to when you showed up, I was like, yes, I forgot. It was so good. It was like the best.
I have to, yeah, don't say. I was just telling someone I've been in Disney Plus and kid movies. So all I have is I'm watching kid movies all the time.
You know what, though? That's fair, though. There's some good kid movies on Disney Plus, though, because like you can introduce your kids now to like the stuff you used to watch. That's like
yeah, but my kids are into it. They're like, the animation is old. I'm like, what? Yeah, the animation has changed so much.
What are they shooting down? I'm sorry, we're just gonna go ahead and break this down. What are they not digging?
Shot down Aladdin. I know.
That is so, you know what? You're raising them right for showing it to them, though. I appreciate you showing it to them. Obviously, this story is an extension of the Tom Clancy universe, which has been around for a while. Like, again, it's not like I think everybody was reading his books. At least I wasn't. I was too young. But I was watching the movies. I remember Ben Affleck. I remember Harrison Ford. Is there one of the Tom Clancy's that you had seen before or liked? I mean, you got, I think, the best leading man. So sorry, Harrison.
No, I wasn't as familiar as everyone else. I'm a very old school girl. I still watch Waiting to Exhale and Boomerang. So.
CIA doesn't support any further investigation into your wife's murder.
They had no right.
I have to kind of say, like, Tom Clancy, it's a universe at this point, and there's like so many different iterations. Before joining this one, did you have a favorite? I imagine this one's your favorite now.
Now, of course, this one is my favorite. I mean, I was a big fan, more or less, of all the movie that were made by Tom Clancy. And then I'm a huge fan of him, of Tom Clancy. So, and this is the reason why I love the idea to create, to participate in creating the origin story of John Kelly, that I feel is John Clark at the end. That is one of the most interesting characters that was not really explored until now. And I like him because it's a little bit more dark than all the other characters that lives in the Tom Clancy universe, let's say. I like his ability to be to live in his shady kind of approach, in his gritty and brutal approach that is different from Jack Ryan, of course.
Yeah, it's definitely more operating in the shades of gray as far as like loyalties and who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. What's interesting too is, this is you reuniting with Taylor Sheridan. And I'm just curious, what about the way that he writes? Because I've heard this from a lot of folks, both the directors that he's worked with and the folks that have worked with him as a director. He has a very specific, I would say, cadence to his screenplays and how they sort of play out and essentially feel very like for his Western stuff, but this one feels very much almost like a throwback to those 80s sort of Russian spy things, but it's updated. And that's the same thing with the Western. So yeah, talk about how, he approached updating the, I would say, older source material.
When I first approached to the Without Remorse was the script was originally written by Sean Ryan, the creator of the show. And was, of course, written in the early 90s. So I gave to Paramount and to Michael my pitch on the eventual movie. So I asked Taylor to join because I already worked with him. And so I know exactly what he can bring, the humanity, the really classy and elaborate dialogue, and he pays a lot of attention on the psychology of the character. That is something that I really like. So in a completely different way, of course, but we have a similar approach. So I felt that I would be protected by having him on board. And he wrote a beautiful script.
Yeah, it's really incredible too, just to see how well it's sort of updated in a way that I didn't think that you could, given like the enemies are so different than they were. Why do you think though that that time period is still sort of enduring, like that Cold War sort of, you know, superpowers, shady spying? Why do you think people still want to revisit that? Because it seems to be, something that go back.
If you think, I mean, the mechanism that is behind a war, meaning that it's not the war itself, but how you want to have or why you make a war, the mechanisms are the same. If you think a little bit, this book was written in the 93, set it up in the 70s. If you watch it today and try to imagine the last scene with Senator Clay and Mike, the senator, when he says, we live in a country that is split in two. We are fighting one against the other. We need an enemy.
Yeah.
And which is the best enemy? Russia. So, I mean, it's like, I think that is modern and it works because it's exactly as it is. It's also today, I feel that without Remorse, an aspect of the movie, it's pretty relevant and accurate, especially after what's happened in January.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's so many things that I don't think you could have predicted would hit as hard as they do when you were first scripting it. And it's just, I guess, a sort of a testament to the source material, but more importantly, what you guys were able to do to make it feel very timeless and very applicable no matter what the new situations are. It's a very interesting premise too, because I'm not gonna lie to you, when I was first telling people about it and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do Without Remorse, like that title alone just gets people in a way that they're like, it like latches onto them. And I had a lot of people like talking about regret. So I'm just going to ask this kind of frivolous one, but is there something that a decision that you made that you look back on and like this was without a doubt something that I don't regret doing because it put me on the right path? Or maybe something that didn't work out, but now looking back on it, you're like, no regrets. This is 100% the right thing that should have happened.
I think every time I try not to rewatch my movies because because when I watch it, it's like I feel, oh, why we did so? I mean, why we cut? I mean, it's like somehow it's always a little bit difficult for a director to detach enough because I mean, I've been working on this for at least 2 years, 3 years. So it's like, it's an incredible amount of time. So you are so deep in that, I mean, sincerely, I cannot answer the question. Probably I can do it in 3 years from now.
No, I get it. Before we get out of here, we of course have to talk about your leading man, Michael B. Jordan. And I know that he was, obviously the name from very early on, but he's going to be directing his first film pretty shortly here. Did you know that at the time? Did he sort of like court you at Video Village?
Yeah, we spoke about it. And then I think that Michael is really, really smart. And then he's a super nice and kind human being. That is most of all. It's really important. And then I think that he has a big future in front of him because it's like he has a lot of quality and he's super nice to work with because he was even in the movie where he played basically all the stunt scene.
Wow.
Himself, that was pretty crazy and challenging for him. He was always smiling with a good energy around it. So I wish him the best, really, because he deserved that.
They're gonna play by my rules now. No remorse.
'Cause I'm suckers.